Let's start out with the horrors of what is happening in Ireland.
You hurt one of us, we hurt 100 of you.
Families forced to evacuate after protesters burned buildings and vehicles. Belfast at the center of this chaos.
We've imported these animals
because a stabby black illegal tried to chop his head off.
A night of violent unrest triggered by crowds of masked men on the streets.
This has got to stop.
Belfast is being torn in two. Vehicles, entire homes set on fire, trying to flush out and punish immigrants. At one point, a group had formed maybe 100 strong, wearing masks. And in some cases, the police, trying to stop the violence, were attacked themselves.
What would possess you to attack officers of the police force that has been investigating this terrible crime?
I can show you what sparked this violent reaction, but it's incredibly disturbing, and there's video. What has stirred up this latest swell of anti-immigrant sentiment in Northern Ireland is a knife attack by a black man against a white man. I've watched the raw, unblurred video, and I've seen enough to know that I can't just replay it for you here. But I will show you elements of it, which show you how vulnerable a position the victim was in, how bystanders reacted to the attack, and why this video in particular has fueled all of the fire we've seen since. Okay, here we go. This is a still from the video, verified by CBC News, showing the attacker on top of the victim. If we scrub forward a couple of seconds, we can see the attacker isn't raising a fist. It is, by all accounts, a knife. A kitchen knife was found by police at the scene. The attacker has been charged with possession of a knife in a public place. The victim's wounds are consistent with some kind of bladed attack. And the bystanders themselves are coming to the same conclusion.
Has he got a knife?
Yeah. Get off him, you fucking rat!
The attacker's name, according to police, is Hadi Al-Odid, now also charged with attempted murder, and the reason why so much of the community is in shock, and you'll see very angry.
Why would you bring in Somalians undocumented?
But a lot of the information that immediately started circulating after the attack was wrong.
You know all the cliches that I'm about to drop on you as if it's some sort of wisdom, but you're my chat. I don't think you lack this particular level of knowledge, which is violence bad, killing your fellow man bad, but when it is done by somebody who looks like the majority ethnicity of a particular country, that act of violence is not turned into something that can paint the entire population as evil, mass murdering, terroristic psychopaths. But when a particular minority category does it, or a person that represents any sort of non-mainstream identity category in the country, there's going to be a lot of reactionary forces at play that are going to try to co-opt that horrible, misfortunate accident, if it was one, or any sort of a violent event against said minority, against said group. Doesn't even have to be minority, as a way to garner political power, to instill hatred, and to move the attention away as much as possible from systemic issues, political issues, from economic issues, from class issues, over into a wider conversation on, hey, there's bad guys in our backyard, we gotta fight the bad guys, we hate the fucking bad guys. The bad guys aren't the bankers, the bad guys aren't your boss, the bad guys are your neighbors that look a little bit different because there's another guy that looks kind of like your neighbors that did a fucked up thing.
What you just heard was wrong twice. The alleged attacker is from Sudan, not Somalia.
It is wild for English people to be rioting because immigrants invaded Ireland. Yes, that's an additional level. You will always have levels of hypocrisy coming from many different groups when it comes to their need to generalize and politicize a particular individual event as a way to paint a greater picture about an entire ethnic group.
Police had incorrectly identified him as Somali earlier. He's also not undocumented. According to the UK government, he entered Northern Ireland in 2023, applied for asylum, and was granted a 5-year permit to stay, legal until 2028. But the video goes on, and over the course of several seconds, we can see what look like cutting motions the attacker is making around the victim's head and neck.
Bro, get off!
The victim's name is Stephen Ogilvie. He's in hospital. serious injuries to his face, neck, and back. Prosecutors say he's lost his left eye. Then, a day later, the violence continued.
A city bus
Thankfully, there's been a lot of good in the horror. My Instagram stories have been full of locals offering shelter to people of color and immigrant families. My friend on one of the streets most impacted, just around the New Stonewards Road, had his Muslim neighbors ask if they could hide their kids, not the parents. They were ready to risk it. The kids, heartbreaking, they got them out. Well, good to hear. There's, like, I think I've said this a million times, moments of crisis are moments of opportunity, not only for fascists, but also for people that want to see any form or sort of progress in the communities that they live in. As a reaction to what at this point is starting to look like riots and even pogroms, communities can come far closer together and realize what really matters.
fight and quickly engulfed in flames. One of several fires set across Belfast.
Smoke billowing into the night sky. A road left impassable. Homes came under attack as calls for calm were ignored.
Now, I'll place for you as best I can where and how the violence began to spiral out. The knife attack you just saw, that happened here on Kinnaird, which is a residential enclosed roadway. According to various media reports, many of the protests that followed in communities across Northern Ireland were peaceful, blocking roads, sending a message. But in other parts of the country, especially in Belfast, closest to where the attack happened, the protests became an angry mob. Near this intersection in East Belfast, that's an entire bus set on fire. This fire, just steps away, blocked an entire street. Firefighters had to help rescue people from burning buildings.
Thugs trying to burn and intimidate people out of their homes.
And there's plenty of video of people in masks doing just that, trying to force their way into buildings, kicking in doors, breaking glass, sending a message, particularly in immigrant communities, that there was a score to settle.
Those communities that were attacked last night, some were from ethnic minority backgrounds, many were not. These idiots didn't just target ethnic minority groups, they just didn't target communities, they targeted Northern Ireland, they targeted society.
Now, if this was more...
Belfast challenge, be normal, fucking impossible, man. I'ma show these goddamn immigrants, brother, by fucking up another Irish Englishman. Oh, yeah, it's always the same fucking shit. This is such a classic repeat on repeat on repeat. You throw around so many potential conspiracies about the big bad other that it is an eventuality that somebody who looks like the big bad other does something fucked up at some point, and you go like, look at this conspiracy that ended up not being true 999,999 times out of a million, but ended up being true this one particular time. Let's paint this whole particular group, doesn't matter what type of group it is, as evil savages, and then let's hit them while hurting a bunch of people that have had nothing to do with it in the process. It is one of the strongest depictors of a complete mental infantile disorder. You have to be at a dangerously pathetic level of mental development in order to be able to create correlations of this particular type, unless they become systemic, right? I don't know. It's nothing new under the sun. And Elon Musk, of course, boosted the shit out of posts that were posted by a bunch of neo-Nazis that supported the riots. He has done that before in England proper, quote unquote, and he's done it in many countries around the world whenever a call for generalized pogrom-like violence was made by a dominating ethnic group in country A, B, C, or D. Our boy Elon really loved stepping it up and making sure that his platform puts as much support behind the rioters and the pogromers, I don't even know if that's the word, whenever he can. 1920, pogroms are targeting minorities in the north of Ireland. It's 1972. Pogroms are targeting minorities in the north of Ireland. It's 2026. Pogroms are targeting minorities in the north of Ireland. That's a great post.
Than just spur-of-the-moment angry backlash. If this was an orchestrated response to one man's violence by using more violence, then we have to point out what the conversation looked like online. The man sharing the video we've been showing you of the instigating knife attack, he also posted this. a call to action. The morning of the
Tommy motherfucking Robinson. Enough is enough. Flash protest. Following the disgusting video we are all witnessing, there will be a flash protest today at the Highfield Hotel. Let's fucking go. Oh no, not the evil immigrants in Ireland doing fucked up shit to the Irish. Oh wait, it's not an Irish guy? Okay, no, I'm not going to excuse. I don't know what the fucking reason behind this was. I'm not, of course, going to excuse somebody fucking butchering a dude randomly on the fucking street. But the entire picture of an English nationalist pushing against immigrants in Northern Ireland is fucking insane. It's legendary.
same day the protest.
Tel Aviv Steve. They call him Tel Aviv Steve. He loves being circumcised. He loves zero foreskin.
Violence would unfold. Enough is enough, showing a black man with a knife attacking a white man on the ground. Another online post, just hours after the previous one, would set out nearly 100 protest locations across the United Kingdom. Mass protest tonight with
This is what I call having an organized presence prepared in case crisis erupts. As a pivot towards authoritarian capitalism, aka fascism, or a pivot towards revolutionary socialist momentum, only and exclusively throughout history has come from great moments of crises, adequately utilized by organized efforts. And if crises like this are not utilized by the left, they sure as fucking hell are going to be utilized by the right. Now, when I say utilized, I don't mean, hey, the left should take this stabbing and be like, yo, the stabbing is based, or that it should adopt some sort of racialized, hateful attitude towards immigrants. No, quite to the contrary. It is supposed to help calm the situation down by explaining just exactly what Tel Aviv, Tommy Tel Aviv Steve is trying to do by co-opting a tragedy as a means to even further divide a community. That is why, chat, you should join an organization. And that is why, if you are in an organization, you should talk about, design, and develop contingencies in case potential moments of strife erupt as a way to utilize them for organizational growth. Okay? We all agree.
interpret as a warning at the bottom right. All businesses to close at 5:30 p.m. tonight, no excuses. And this was amplified to millions more people by Elon Musk. Only by protesting repeatedly and loudly will there be any change. The man sharing the video, the calls to action, the protest locations, he goes by the name Tommy Robinson online, a former politician, also with
Jesus, fucking mainstream media having to catch up on very basic political figures is fucking phenomenal.
a number of criminal convictions. He's long been a vocal member of the far right. In his posts, he has called this
Živjela baba, hvala ti druže. Mlada baba, mislim da je rođena 54. ili nešto. Mlada baba, pa će poživi još.
most recent knife attack an invader attack on our people, and some like-minded people see it as tantamount to civil war.
Civil war is coming. Like, it doesn't take rocket science. It's going to get worse.
We wouldn't have had the reaction we had in Belfast if it wasn't for social media. So the video of the attack spread quickly.
This is a fucking American accent in fucking Belfast. That's legendary. Holy Mother of God. Lady, do you support the killing of immigrants? The fuck?
Was not reined in on social media sites.
On one hand, we can
Everything shut down by 6, even transport out of Belfast. Crazy.
connect what's happening to the long history of the troubles in Northern Ireland. So there's something particular about here. What types of violence have become historically legitimized where these riots are taking place? They tend to be in historically really deprived areas with high levels of unemployment.
Oh, wow. Everybody was surprised that the impoverished are the easiest to co-opt and the most important to co-opt by reaction away from class consciousness, revolutionary thought, into racist bigotry that explains away every single one of their problem. Nobody was surprised.
However, especially the loyalist communities who see themselves as marginalized, see all this less through the lens of economic deprivation and class, but much more through the lens of an attack on their identity and communities.
Northern Ireland is a country in the midst of change. It is, on the one hand, the least ethnically diverse part of the United Kingdom. A very small percentage of the population, under 5%, is from a minority background. But more populous parts of the country, like Belfast, have seen an increase in immigration over the years.
It's attractive in that sense for people to be living and working in the UK and different opportunities. It's also on the margin of the EU. We're sharing a border with the South, with Ireland.
And not unlike other parts of the world where there's this influx of change, there's an increase in friction across the UK.
Thousands of people are gathering in Southampton tonight after body cam footage was released of Henry Novak's final moments.
Violent clashes between its officers and protesters near where Henry was stabbed to death.
A rise in anti-immigration talk after the detention of 2 Romanian people over an alleged sex attack.
Rioting broke out in Dublin on Thursday after a knife attack. Anti-immigrant protesters clashed with riot police.
So this is a trend of anti-immigrant rioting. I'll also say that there are explicit calls to engage in violence, and that is the thing that's stoking this.
We have seen the real growth of anti-migrant movements, anti-migrant protests, and the kind of development of explicit anti-migrant and sometimes far-right movements with it too.
Blah, blah, blah. The UK is slowly dying. Reactionary politics is on the rise because there's no real systemic change being offered by the milquetoast labor class traders. There's nothing real being offered by the conservatives either. So a more radical, more violent, more openly, quote unquote, authoritarian option screaming at the top of their lungs that every single one of your insecurities will not only be met but satisfied with blood will of course also rise when it comes to political power. That's the doom pill. The hope pill is that this can, of course, be co-opted by the left. Depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. U.S. fascism brainworms are catching very quickly. It's not U.S. fascism brainworms. It's just fascism brain. There's fascism everywhere. It's not necessarily only American. That would be very American-centric and almost Orientalist. But there is a conversation to be had about how, because we are on the internet pretty much, American style of fascist agitation has become the mainstream style of fascist agitation over the world, and one which depicts that an upcoming white genocide at the hand of violent, non-accommodating immigrants is coming is the classic European story, and not only, but has now been given digital media logistics and inspiration by the American right. So while the pitch is very old school, the way they popularize the pitch in the UK has been very much inspired by the Americans. You have talking heads, you have personas, you have YouTube channels, you have big Twitter followings, you have quote-unquote independent media outlets. You have an entire ecosystem developed. That's why like the British Fascist Party and all of those guys like died out. They were just doing door knocking. They were just doing, on-street agitation, etc., etc. They thought that they could get people to join them on the streets by being on the streets. The new British right understands that you get people to the streets by agitating to them online, and then unironically using the display of power that you had on the streets to agitate even more online by showing, look at how strong we are IRL, which then makes everybody far more confident and far more comfortable to join a far-right rally, to join a far-right protest, because they can see that there are hundreds, thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of fellow violent thugs that would protect them, that would make them feel part of a larger community, that would finally confirm the biases that they've had. So that's kind of the pivot away from older, usually European, very dated modes of radicalization into something newer. What is scary specifically about the British far right in comparison to fascists in France or Germany or whatever is that they unironically know how to make the streets burn, know how to put people out there. They know how to very quickly react to something like this and then allow it, facilitate its spiraling as much as possible. That is the scary part. They are seemingly very politically inclined. They are seemingly very willing, actually motivated to develop political movements out of these far-right talking points that they are placing online and on the streets, which is pretty scary. It's not just a temporary grift for them, the way a lot of American content creators on the right exercise. It's not just what you see in front of your face. It's not just the views and the clicks. For them, they want to see it translated in the street as well.